Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This time it's going to be a battle report of one of our practice games for the upcoming ETC next year. So I put my attention to Warriors of the Dark Gods and I am facing off against Dwarven Holds. So for these practice days, it's mostly the idea that you go through the lists together, you discuss a lot about how the matchup feels for you, what you think are good plays, bad plays, etc. So it's also going to be a lot of theory during the day itself. This is going to be my list for the day. I'm still trying to figure out what list to play specifically, but there are some elements in the list that I already like. For example, the Chosen Lord with the Burning Portent, I do like him. The Warrior Knights are nice. And basically the MSU feel of the army is also quite nice. Then we have the Dwarven Old opponent. It's a guy who's been playing this for quite a while now. So basically it's a MSU dwarf list with just a ton of just small units. And basically you have 6 turns in the game, so you're not going to be able to probably clean up everything. And also with the 2 minor units that can ambush, making some objectives quite easy. I think it's a well-rounded list, and especially I was impressed by the grey BS with great weapons and throwing weapons. But we'll get to that. So first picture, we are playing marching columns and capture the flags. Capture the flags for me generally is a win against this army because, well, I'm going to be able to mop up more scoring units than my opponent. Marching columns, I didn't really like it in this matchup specifically, mostly because, well, we talked about this a lot really. I'll just get a pointer. So we were talking about this. My opponent got to choose the sides, I believe. In marching columns, you obviously first have the 3 drops before you can even start dropping your entire army. So my opponent started with the Grudge Buster all the way on the flank. And then I was thinking, well, I can follow either from the left side or I can follow from the right side, counter his deployment. Grudge Buster can only march 8 inches, so it is quite likely that he will work around in that area. Can still shoot 18, so I can take him out of the game for like 2 turns if I want to by just deploying everything on the other side of the field. However, if my opponent doesn't deploy anything there, then it's just going to be basically 2-3 turns for me to catch up to a point where I can start doing some stuff, and then practically the game is over by the time that I reach his lines. On the other hand, the Grudge Buster alone doesn't really indicate to me that he is going to corner. So I think we helped each other quite a bit here. Me mostly arguing that his Grudge Buster placement didn't really tell anything to me. So I put some barbarians all the way off the screen in the corner. Next drop for my opponent was the Warriors, still not really giving away anything about this list. Then I put up some Warrior Knights because, I mean, they are still fast enough to just catch up if my opponent would decide to corner on the other side. I think my opponent then put the second Grudge Buster down, or maybe the Warriors in the back. I think the Warriors in the back, so that doesn't really give me sufficient information yet that he is going to commit to this side, because if you look at the rest of his army, it's still Grudge Buster, all the War Machines, the Old Guardians, the Vengeance Seekers. I'm not sure if this Vengeance Seeker would be allowed to be placed in this position actually for deployment, because I don't think so. Maybe he just placed the Vengeance Seeker third. But anyway, it was not something so consequential that he gave away the rest of his deployment. So I counted with a Warrior Chariot because, well, mostly because it's something that I can still miss and that I can fit in between this annoying part between the impossible terrain and my Warrior Knights. I could also have gone for the Wretched one. Maybe that would have been a better drop because the Wretched one doesn't really have that much value anyway in this game. So basically, it's just a free drop. I should have used that one. Then my opponent, I believe he dropped the rest of his army. No, he didn't, because he still dropped one thing and then I dropped my Warrior Knights. Because for me, it's it's still like 2 warrior units, a Vengeance Seeker, and a Grudge Buster. The rest of his army can still go anywhere else. For me to drop, I if I basically if my opponent is going to go in this corner, I would like my warriors to be as close as possible, and my warrior chariot because then I can reach it easily enough. If he doesn't, then I don't want the warriors to be here, especially in front of the ruins, because then I'm going to take some dangerous terrains. So basically this is the point where my opponent had to wait for me to deploy something here. I should have definitely just have deployed the Wretched One to get an extra drop. But yeah, I dropped the Warrior Knights, and basically that was the point where my opponent could make the call of committing to the corner. I tried to counter deploy by having the warriors as close as possible to his lines, just filling up this area so I could march out the Warrior Knights with the Wasteland Torch, follow up with the Forsworn. I still have a bunker there, and then for the rest I still have Warrior Knights that can march up, the Feldraks that can go 16 inches. So this is the deployment. Going into this game, I thought it would be a good matchup for me, mostly because in combat my opponent wouldn't really do that much damage to me, and one-on-one my units do beat his units in combat, and getting to combat is not going to be that much of an issue because of my armor mostly and resilience 5 on the effective resilience 5 on the warrior knights. Yeah, so with that thought we go into the game. I don't have a lot of pictures of this game, but I do have a couple. So this is after my opponent's first turn and my first turn. So my opponent got to start. Put some wounds on the warrior chariot, some wounds on the other warrior chariot. The rest of the army stays unarmed, completely unarmed. I go up to range where my opponent could charge in with 2 Grudge Busters. However, I believe it was on a 9 or a 10 I think. Vengeance Seeker was out of range. Here in the middle, I use my Banner of the Relentless to move up as quickly as possible, because speed is of the essence. My opponent basically clogs up the field with his Forge Wardens that are not that useful this game. I don't think I clean up any this turn because he didn't give me any charges. And then otherwise, yeah, he's just holding back, trying to wait for a shooting to pull through. Then we had a bit of a discussion about whether he should charge in with the Grudge Busters or not. My argument was that quite likely you are going to have only one Grudge Buster in there, and then you might be able to go through the Knights, you might not be able to go through the Knights. However, on the grand scheme of things, it's not an engagement that is beneficial to you, because you can also just wait, make use of the shooting of your Grudge Busters and not commit to charging the Warrior Knights. Like having a stalemate here is quite advantageous for my opponent, I would say. On the other hand, I do manage to push through in the center. I do manage to clean up these Forge Wardens, and this is starting to look a bit dangerous for his side. He does manage to take away the Warrior Chariot. He does manage to cripple this one down to 1 wound. The miners are still going to be coming up on the table. So I was keeping it in reserve to be able to charge miners if necessary. However, being on 1 wound, it is quite risky to charge a unit of miners with great weapons and pistols. So they get a standard shoot, they get to strike probably. So I don't think I even want to charge him with a chariot. That's just on 1 wound. Otherwise, I do manage to just advance quite nicely. The Feldraks seem like they haven't really done that much, but they also chased off some units off the board. Here we have a nice standoff, as I was saying, with the Grudge Busters and the Warrior Knights. I can start to put some pressure again here, going into a charge range where it is quite likely that one of the Grudge Busters will fail the charge. If he wants to go in with the Hold Guardians, then I would be fine by that. I think also for the Forsworn, I wouldn't mind taking 1 unit. However, I was standing a little bit forward, I believe. I tried to do a march check and I failed it because I was thinking I could just follow my Warrior Knights. But then failing a march check means that I basically just have to go back, because 2 units of Hold Guardians in one go is not going to be that healthy for my Hold Guardians, even though I could have set it up for a flank charge of the Warrior Knights. And then I go to the last picture I have. So as you can see, the Feldraks are gone. So this is because the cannon shot at the Feldraks. The Feldraks took 4 wounds. They failed their panic on discipline 9, and they ran off to the fields. 2 rally tests later, they didn't rally at all, and I lost my Feldraks to a single cannon shot. So that was my experience with Feldraks. Otherwise, my opponent did charge in with a Vengeance Seeker onto my warriors. This was already in the previous turn here. I don't know exactly how it went. Basically, we got the situation where he was with a Vengeance Seeker in my flank, just in turn where I was gonna be free to charge something new. Then I had to reform to confront the Vengeance Seeker. My opponent could later charge in. I put 2 wounds on my mage, unfortunately, through a miscast that was not really necessary. And then he managed to pick off the Wizard Master, netting in some quite nice points. Otherwise, so yeah, current state of the board is not really great for me, I would say. Oh well, I am pushing through, I am mopping stuff up. However, I am also taking quite some damage. Here there's 2 depleted units of Greybeards with great weapons. They're depleted because they mopped up one of my Warrior Knight units. So in this matchup specifically, I noticed that Slav great weapons generally are nice. Like the resilience against range damage is incredibly nice compared to not having that. On the other hand, however, striking last against great weapons is an issue. So maybe I should take along some tools to deal with great weapon units. Or I should consider that maybe not all armies have strength 6 on all units that they have. So matchup-wise, I think it's still a good matchup for me because I don't really care about any of his shooting. Combat-wise, it is a bit less good than I had imagined. But I think, yeah, between just the Feldraks just zooming off after 1 cannonball, my Wizard Master basically just being replaced by a hammer, and just not being that experienced yet with the list. I think it would still make a difference for me if I play a bit more with the list and set up my magic also definitely differently. Because right now the magic setup that I played was a Wizard Apprentice on Occultism and a Wizard Master on Alchemy. I noticed that the Mastery got stuck in combat all the time, so the Silver Spike and Molten Copper didn't come into play, basically. And I generally felt like I needed more channel to get spells through. I also need some more utility spells, so I am switching up the magic to some other magic setup. And with that other magic setup, I should also be able to deal with these dwarves a bit better. Yeah, so in the end, what was left from my side, he did manage to clean up the Warrior Knights as well, eventually with the Grudge Busters. So basically, he did with the Grudge Busters what he was planning to do in turn 2. He just used his Grudge Busters for general coverage in the meantime, instead of going in first chance he got. He did manage to clean up, also still the Barbarians, the Wizard, everything got cleaned up except for the Chosen Lord with his buddies. We counted out the points at the end, and it was a minor win for him, so it was a 13-7 in points. Objective-wise, I did in the end still manage to kill more scoring units than him, because there's no cap on this, so he killed like 1 unit, 2 units, 3 units of Warrior Knights, he killed the Forsworn, he killed both Barbarians, that's 6 scoring units. However, I killed 3 units of scoring Forge Wardens, 1 unit of Hold Guardians, and I believe 2 units of Greybeards and the unit of War. Honestly, I don't really remember anymore which I killed, but I believe we counted and we came to 7. So at least luckily I still got that. So with that, we came to a 10-10. It was definitely good practice. We discussed a lot. We had good fun. Um, I think deployment-wise, it was also a bit of a negative thing for me playing marching columns. But then again, if it would have been a more free deployment, I think my deployment would have been rather similar. Probably I would have put the warrior knights a bit more on flanks, the warrior chariot over here. So basically, what now happened is that I couldn't really commit with the warrior knights on the left and the chariot. They basically were lost to me because I ended up in a stalemate that I couldn't get out of, in my interpretation. So yeah, being able to center or to concentrate your forces a bit more would have been better for me, I would say. Yeah, with that, I'm gonna finish this battle report. Thank you for watching, and I will see you then next time.